Ymedia Group, the fastest growing media group in North America.
Hello everyone, this is Shubi with Ymedia Group, and Ymedia Group is here live at the G7 Summit. This is day 2, we're here in Alberta, and I'm going to be telling you exactly what has taken place so far this morning. Now, let's take a deep dive into one of the most important events of this morning, which was the conference between Prime Minister Mark Carney and US President Donald Trump. Now, a variety of different topics were discussed, like Canada and US trade, Russia's exclusion from the G8, and China's inclusion in the G7, Israel and Iran's crisis, and immigration in the US. Now let's take a deeper dive into each one of these topics. US President Donald Trump criticized the historic decision to remove Russia from the G8, calling it a big mistake and ultimately leading to global instability. Let's hear what he had to say.
I appreciate it, and we've developed a very good relationship, and we're going to be talking about trade and many other things. And we have a whole group of people, some traders and some other people, I see not economy people, but we have a very talented group of people, and you do too, and I know they work together very well. I look forward to that. The G7 used to be the G8. Barack Obama and a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in, and I would say that was a mistake, because I think you wouldn't have a war right now if you had Russia in. You wouldn't have a war right now if Trump were president 4 years ago. It didn't work out that way, but it used to be the G8, and now it's, I guess, what's that, 9 years ago, 8 years ago, it switched over. They threw Russia out, which I claimed was a very big mistake, even though I wasn't in politics and I was very loud about it. It was a mistake in that you spend so much time talking about Russia, and he's no longer at the table, so it makes life more complicated, but you wouldn't have had the war. And other than that, I think we're going to accomplish a lot, and I expect to. And I think our primary focus would be trade and trade with Canada, and I'm sure we can work something out. Thank you very much.
When it came to US and Canada trade, Trump emphasized a lot of differences between him and Prime Minister Carney, emphasizing their different economic philosophies. Let's hear what he had to say.
So much holding up. I think we have different concepts. I have a tariff concept. Mark has a different concept, which is something that some people like. But we're going to see if we can get to the bottom of it today. I'm a tariff person. I've always been a tariff. It's simple, it's easy, it's precise, and it just goes very quickly. And I think Mark has a more complex idea, but also very good. So we're going to look at both, and we're going to see what we're going to come out with something.
One of the most interesting discussions that took place during this press conference was the Iran and Israel conflict. Trump gave his opinion, and here's what he had to say.
Any signal or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to escalate the conflict?
Yeah.
What have you heard? What have you heard from the Iranians?
They'd like to talk. They should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day I said, we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war, and they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
When US President Donald Trump was asked, do you think that China should be included in the G7? His answer was clear-cut, that yes, they should be, but you also want people you can talk to. Putin talks to me, but he doesn't talk to people that threw him out, and I agree with him.
It's not a bad idea, right? By then, if somebody wants to suggest China coming in, I think we suggest, but you want to have people that you can talk to. You know, they don't talk to me. Putin speaks to me, he doesn't speak to anybody else. He doesn't want to talk, because he was very insulted when he got thrown out of the G8. As I would be, as you would be, as anybody would be. He was very insulted. And I mean, he was thrown out by Trudeau, who convinced one or two people, along with Obama. He was thrown out, and he's not a happy person about it, I can tell you that.
United States President Donald Trump also addressed his recent social media post regarding targeting demographic cities with increased ICE enforcement. Here's what he had to say.
You did a post last night when you said you want ICE to really target Democrats.
Yeah, I want them to focus on the cities, because the cities are where you really have what's called sanctuary cities, and that's where the people are. I look at New York, I look at Chicago. I mean, you got a really bad governor in Chicago and a bad mayor, but the governor's probably the worst in the country, Pritzker. But I look at how that city has been overrun by criminals, and you know, New York and LA, look at LA. LA, those people weren't from LA, they weren't from California, most of those people, many of those people. And yeah, that's the focus. Biden allowed 21 million people to come into our country. Of that, vast numbers of those people were murderers, killers, people from gangs, people from jails. They emptied their jails out into the U.S. Most of those people are in the cities, all blue cities, all Democrat-run cities, and they think they're going to use them to vote. It's not going to happen.
This was definitely an interesting interaction that we had just to kick off the G7 summit, and especially on day 2. So please stay tuned with Ymedia for all your latest updates.
Ymedia Group, the fastest growing media group in North America.